Discover the touching moment a millionaire single dad transforms a little girl's life overnight. Jack Thornton stood in his grand living room, glancing at the framed photos that adorned the walls, capturing moments of laughter, but filled with echoes of his solitary existence. Despite his success in real estate, a gnawing emptiness lingered, amplified by the challenges of being a father to 8-year-old Emma. He had built a life of luxury, but watching his daughter play alone among her toys only magnified his internal conflict. Was this what success meant? A fat paycheck but a daughter who felt invisible. That Sunday afternoon, while Emma excitedly crafted designs in her colorful sketchbook, Jack's phone buzzed with notifications. Yet another deal closing, another milestone reached, but his heart was heavy with guilt. He was supposed to be her dad, but every time he brought her gifts, Emma's shy smile revealed her craving for his time, not material tokens. Days merged into weeks filled with back-to-back meetings and deals, and Jack had become a mere specter, haunting his own home. At the park later that day, Jack observed Emma as she met Lily, a spunky girl who wore optimism like a badge amid folded clothes and hurdles. His heart twisted as he saw the spark in Emma that only Lily could ignite. The girls became a whirlwind of laughter and creativity, and watching them from the distance, Jack shifted uncomfortably. He admired the carefree joy they shared, but an unsettling question lingered: was it only a brief escape for Emma, a void still unfilled by Jack's absence? Before he could ponder further, a punch to the gut hit him when whispers floated through the tree-lined paths. Lily's family was facing eviction. Fear clawed at Jack's insides. What if his wealth meant nothing in the face of genuine hardship? He had spent years crafting his empire, only to feel the impending weight of his privilege now that he understood the stakes. How could he be the dad his daughter deserved, while grappling with the stark reality of another's plight? "You can help, Jack," an insistent voice beckoned from within, but what did that truly mean? Should he offer money, tool up a connection with Lily's family, or step back and allow the girls to navigate this cruel world on their own? Each option felt like a double-edged sword, slicing deeper into his consciousness. The girls thrived in innocence, yet he couldn't escape the reality that he hovered over a chasm, ready to plunge into unknown depths. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, blending anxiety with anticipation as Jack contemplated the looming fundraiser for Lily's family. Could he really make a difference, or would his efforts expose the flags of his privilege? He felt the tightness in his chest as he watched Emma thrive in Lily's delight, yet crumbled under the sheer weight of their realities. A reminder that he was struggling to connect with the very daughter he adored. The night before the fundraiser, Jack paced across the living room, shadows of laughter echoing through the walls, whispering promises but revealing his fears. With every thought of who he hoped to be for Emma, he felt the encroaching darkness of questions that kept him awake. Would this benevolent act redefine their lives, or would his attempts bridge a gap only to expose their worlds even more? Everything hung in uncertainty as he looked out into the Fort Worth skyline, wondering if he had the courage to bear witness to the unfolding of not just their lives, but also his own. Tomorrow lay heavy with potential. The morning sun pierced through Jack's curtains, illuminating the remnants of the turmoil within him. He rubbed his eyes, conflicted as he stood before his reflection in the mirror. He had always taken pride in presenting a polished, unshakable exterior, but the man staring back seemed fragile, haunted by decisions yet to be made. Would today be a turning point, or simply another passing day? Losing to his obsessions of work and success, as he descended the stairs, an unexpected warmth captured him. Emma was in the kitchen, her laughter brightening the space. She was perched on a chair, sketching furiously as if the world beyond her paper was waiting for her creativity to burst forth. He caught a glimpse of the girl named Lily, her delicate features dancing across the page in bold strokes of color. Jack felt a flicker of pride but was immediately engulfed by a deeper wave of uncertainty. Was this talent a gift he had yet to nurture? "Daddy, look!" I'm drawing Lily. Emma squealed, turning around to face him, her eyes shining with eagerness. In that moment, he could forget his corporate empire, the endless emails, and the looming fundraiser. But the joy faded as rapidly as it came when Jack remembered the responsibility he bore not only for Emma's well-being but her emotional landscape. She needed to learn empathy, compassion, real-life skills he had neglected in his pursuit of wealth. "Can I help you with something?" he asked, hoping the question would bridge the gap of their disconnect. Emma's gaze fell for just a moment before she cheerfully replied, "Can we put on our superhero capes today?" His heart clenched at the innocent desire to play, her unsoiled spirit tugging against the threads of his guilt. Jack's mind raced. Today was not about capes. Today was about making a difference. Could he muster the courage to engage fully and be the hero she wanted? Or would he remain a distant figure, absorbed by his own anxieties? Determined, he agreed, and soon they were out the door, each in a makeshift cape. As they walked to the fundraiser, Jack felt a pressure rising within him, not only for Emma's sake but for the greater cause. He thought about the fears and struggles that surrounded Lily's family. A twinge of doubt nagged at him. Did he really have the right to intervene, given his position of privilege? Would a gesture from him feel like charity, or could it be something more meaningful? Arriving at the venue, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Colorful decorations adorned every corner, and fellow parents were already chatting. Jack easily slid into the role of the confident businessman, exchanging pleasantries while keeping an eye on Emma, who was busy showing off her drawings to a few other children, but within him, the turmoil intensified. How could he openly connect with Lily's family when he was a stranger with a bank account far more substantial than their needs? He wasn't sure where to draw the line between helping and overstepping. Each person he met felt like an embodied question mark, challenging him to confront invisible barriers that separated them. As the fundraiser commenced, Jack felt disconnected from his own intentions. Instead of feeling empowered in his philanthropy, he felt isolated, trapped in a realm of unintended consequences. He considered approaching Lily's parents, maybe sharing his experiences, but anxiety gripped him. All at once, the weight of his privilege bore down heavier than ever, suffocating him in doubt, but what he didn't know was that deep within this confrontation lay a hidden opportunity for personal growth, an awakening he hadn't anticipated. And just as Jack took a deep breath, ready to move, a shout broke through the crowd. Emma's exuberant voice, proclaiming her newfound mission to save her friend. The eyes of the gathering turned towards her, and in that moment, Jack realized it was time to step up. Would he follow his daughter's lead, confronting his own uncertainties, or retreat into the shadows he had made for himself? The choice lingered as he felt the stirrings of determination rise within. The moment beckoned him to act decisively, to face the duality of his role of father and a man of influence. Would he truly embrace both identities? As he prepared to engage, a looming figure caught his eye. An unmistakable tension crackled around the approaching figure, someone seemingly set to disrupt his carefully constructed plans. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he glanced toward the advancing figure. It was a woman, her posture rigid, eyes fixed intently on him. The moment felt like a shot across the bow. He could no longer simply remain an observer, caught in the currents of his own discomfort. As she approached, Jack recognized the resemblance. She was undeniably connected to Lily. Part of him yearned to retreat into the safety of small talk with fellow parents, but the urgency radiating from this woman compelled him to remain. What if this confrontation was his moment of truth? "Excuse me," she said with a sharp edge in her voice, drawing nearer. "Are you Jack?" Before he could respond, she continued, "I need to speak with you about Lily." Her expression shifted from stern to a mixture of anxiety and determination. "She needs help, and I hear you're the one to provide it." Lily's mother. The gravity of the moment bore down heavily on him, and Jack felt an instinctive flinch at the underlying accusation in her tone. Was he truly the person capable of providing help? The internal conflict swirled. He was a successful entrepreneur who had largely remained in his fortress of privilege, yet here was an opportunity to breach the walls. "I'm here for the fundraiser," Jack stammered, his voice quiet. "I want to help." "It's just what?" she interrupted, frustration evident. You can write checks, but does that mean anything? Does it really fix anything? Her words struck a chord, the resonance deepening as they clashed with his intimate awareness of his past neglect. Had he truly understood what it meant to help not just financially but emotionally, meaningfully? I'm trying to learn, Jack replied, his voice steadier now. I want to be someone who makes a difference, not just for Lily, but for everyone who needs it. For a brief moment, her eyes softened, reflecting both skepticism and a spark of hope. Then act like it. Don't just be the benefactor, be a father figure for her. She is hurting, and she doesn't need pity, she needs connection. The challenge in her words hung between them, and Jack experienced an undeniable pang of recognition. For all his accomplishments, he had often distanced himself from vulnerability, fearing it would undercut his authority in business. But what if the key to personal growth lay just on the other side of that fear? How can I make a real impact, he asked, his voice firm, laced with emerging conviction. You can start by talking, really talking to her. A chance for genuine friendship could alter her world, she suggested, the fierce energy in her stance shifting to one of cautious encouragement. In that moment, an unexpected resolve began to crystallize within him. Jack had apprenticed himself in the art of negotiation, counting profits and losses, yet engaging in a human connection felt infinitely more intricate and profound. Could he shift his focus, transcend the utilitarian approach he had learned, and become a meaningful piece of Lily's life? Amidst the vibrant chaos around them, the noise faded momentarily as Jack felt the weight of a decision anchoring him in place. His eyes darted back toward Emma, bursting with joy as she shared her drawings with other children. This was a moment for both of them. Before he could overthink it, Jack took a step forward. I'll reach out, I will. For Lily. For Emma. I want to break down the walls. The flicker of understanding sparked in Lily's mother's gaze, a silent acknowledgement of his commitment. But the undertow of Jack's responsibilities loomed ominously. To mold himself into this new role, he would need to wade through his uncertainties, navigating the waters of unfamiliar territory, and just as Jack turned back to the crowd, excitement bubbling within him, a new figure caught his eye, a man with a knowing smile, eyes glimmering with awareness of the challenges ahead. With a single glance, Jack realized that the journey he was embarking upon would demand every ounce of courage he possessed. How far could he push himself to bridge the gaps of understanding and vulnerability? Not just for Lily, but for himself as well. The questions brimmed with both trepidation and promise, leading him inevitably closer to a defining moment on this path of transformation. Would he answer the call, or retreat to the safety of what he knew? Jack stood in the thrumming crowd, the vivid pulse of chatter and laughter surging around him, yet he felt an almost suffocating silence envelop his mind. Lily's mother's words resonated, echoing the challenge to step beyond the transactional framework of his life. He had always thrived in the world of spreadsheets, contracts, and boardroom negotiations, where emotions were typically sidelined in favor of cold logic. Yet, the potential impact of transforming his approach tugged at him with undeniable urgency. As he scanned the crowd, searching for Lily, he felt a swirl of anxiety and excitement. How was he supposed to talk to her? What would he even say? The deeper Jack delved into these questions, the more he recognized the futility of overanalysis. He realized he had to act, to embrace vulnerability, even if it felt like stepping onto a tightrope suspended over uncertainty. Determined to fracture the icy fortress he'd built around himself, Jack shifted his focus to Emma. Watching her laugh, her carefree spirit dancing like sunlight in the early morning, he felt a flicker of hope. If he could offer that same warmth and light to someone as fragile as Lily, maybe he'd discover parts of himself that had remained dormant. It was a leap he was willing to take. In an impulsive decision, he approached Emma, kneeling beside her. Hey, kiddo. Are you having fun? The genuine sparkle in her eyes filled Jack with renewed courage. Yeah. I drew a rainbow. Look. She held up her paper, vivid with colors that magnetized attention, reminding him of the eyes Lily had, clouded yet yearning for joy. That's amazing, he said, suppressing the tremor in his voice. I think you should teach me how to make one like that. Emma's laughter bubbled up, echoing like a melody, and in that moment, the divide felt less insurmountable. If he could connect with his daughter, why couldn't he extend that connection to Lily? With a deep breath, he scanned the crowd again, spotting the unmistakable figure of Lily as she shuffled, alone and pensive, away from a circle of laughing children. His resolve solidified, he started toward her, his heart racing with equal parts dread and exhilaration. "Lily!" he called out, forcing himself to keep his voice steady despite the strain. She turned, her expression a mixture of surprise and uncertainty. There was a flicker of recognition, but beneath it lay a fortress of reticence. "Hi, I'm Jack," he said, extending a hand, though it felt inadequate compared to the need before him. She hesitated, studying him closely as if attempting to calculate the sincerity of his approach. He could see the walls closing in around her self-defense, and it caused an ache he hadn't anticipated. He remembered what her mother had said about connection, and he adjusted his strategy. "I know this can feel awkward, but I wanted to reach out. I hear you like drawing. Would you like to show me some of your work?" Jack's casual tone simmered with genuine interest, and he noted how her brow furrowed as she processed his words. "I don't know if it's good," she replied, eyebrows knitting together. "Listen, I'm a businessman, and I make bad decisions all the time. But sometimes, it's those decisions that teach us the most. How about we hang out and talk about what you love? I promise I won't judge your drawings." The faintest blush crept into her cheeks, and he smiled, sensing the tiniest crack forming in her guard. She brought her drawing notebook forward, hesitant yet willing, revealing a few illustrations that spoke of a vibrant inner world. As they exchanged thoughts on colors and characters, Jack realized that he was no longer simply mentoring, he was learning alongside her. Each shared moment chipped away at the remnants of his self-doubt, sparking a warmth that felt unfamiliar yet deeply rewarding. But as laughter filled the air, another presence loomed beyond their interaction, a familiar figure, the same man with the knowing smile, now watching Jack with piercing intensity, as if measuring every word and action. Just then, a chilling realization struck him. This journey toward becoming a father figure, a protector, might attract unwanted attention. How prepared was he for the scrutiny that could come with this new role? Would he be able to hold on to this vulnerability once the shadows of his past closed in? Jack's heart raced at the uncertainty. He was stepping forward but also inching closer to the very real fears he had kept buried. The path forward was littered with challenges, and he sensed that the hardest lessons were still to come. Would he be able to navigate the complexities of vulnerability and responsibility, or was he at risk of losing himself in the process? Jack shifted his focus back to Lily, who was engrossed in showing him her drawings. For a fleeting moment, the world around them faded, and the tumult of the crowd turned into a muffled hum. It was as if they existed in a sanctuary he hadn't known he could build, a place where vulnerability and creativity intertwined. Jack could sense the shift in her demeanor, a subtle transition from guarded silence to gentle engagement. Her delight in sharing her art revealed layers he hadn't anticipated. "Do you always draw alone?" Jack asked, tilting his head, genuinely curious. With the shadows of uncertainty creeping back, he felt this question required a delicate touch, as if she were a fragile bird ready to take flight. Lily paused, her gaze dropping to her drawings. "Sometimes. It's easier that way, you know." Jack nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of her words. "I get that. But, sometimes sharing what we love can bring more joy than we expect." Her brow nodded once more as if she were mulling over the idea of joy. Jack realized he was trying to unlock a door to a world that was too often kept closed. He wanted to help her understand that sharing didn't equate to vulnerability. But what if the risk of opening up wasn't worth it? Yet, it was precisely this type of question that he now faced in his own life, and the realization struck him hard. He was standing on a precipice similar to Lily's, where the rewards of letting others in clashed violently with the fear of exposure. While exposed to the vulnerability she feared, Jack was also confronted with his struggles as he grappled with stepping into the role of a father figure. He leaned forward slightly, his voice softer. "I promise you, I am here, no matter how messy your drawings may feel. You never know who might find beauty in the world you create." The words swayed through the air, thick with promise and a hint of sadness. Jack was acutely aware of how they also resonated with his own hidden fears. Would he still be the resourceful businessman who controlled every situation, or could he allow himself to be a flawed individual capable of nurturing and sharing? Lily looked at him, her defenses softening. "Okay, but don't laugh if it's not good," she replied, a thin veneer of bravado layering her voice. "I would never," Jack swore, finding a smile breaking through the tension. They spent the next few moments launching into a conversation about color palettes and imaginative characters, each crafted by Lily's hopeful hands. Jack marveled at her creativity. The swirl of colors that practically danced on the pages began to awaken something deep within him. He could feel the seeds of encouragement take root, painting over the stark emptiness that once governed his professional life, but just as the atmosphere grew lighter, Jack sensed that the familiar gaze of that observing figure loomed closer. The man, still watching with a shrewd expression, made Jack's heart race anew. "What do you think he wants?" Jack inquired, voice strained slightly as if his worries could somehow find their way into Lily's innocent art. "I don't know," she replied, her expression shifting uneasily. Jack's pulse quickened. This wasn't just about him anymore. Protecting Lily from negativity felt paramount, and yet he recognized he was also vying to defend his fragile newfound identity. Would he let this man's scrutiny dictate his actions or the path he had just begun exploring? As the figure approached, Jack felt the winds of change buffeting against him. In that moment, he realized he faced a choice: retreat back into the creature of habit he was, or stand resolute in the uncertainty of trusting a less transactional world. It was a haunting paradox that pulled at him, one that wedged itself firmly between the joy he found in Lily's drawings and the fear that trailed behind him like a stubborn shadow. The air thickened with anticipation, and Jack swallowed hard. He wasn't ready for confrontation, yet the stakes amplified as the stranger closed the gap. Would he challenge the world he was trying to build, or would he risk collapsing under scrutiny? A wave of doubt washed over him as he prepared to face what was coming. And with the man now within earshot, the question loomed larger than ever: could the changes he was embracing hold against a world that demanded transactional bonds? Jack tightened his grip on the sketchbook, feeling its rough, worn cover beneath his fingertips. The stranger's watchful gaze felt like a weight pressing down on him, amplifying the vulnerability he had just begun to embrace. He had stepped into a realm of connection with Lily, cultivating an openness that had once felt foreign. Now, as he faced this unidentified figure, that openness felt precarious. The man drew closer, his eyes sharpening with intent. Jack instinctively shielded Lily, positioning himself between her and the approaching figure, an automatic instinct born from a protective impulse that coursed through him. "What do you want?" Jack's voice was steadier than he felt, a thin veneer of confidence masking the turmoil within. The man chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth, but it didn't deter Jack. "Just admiring your choice of company. Art is often more revealing than you realize." Jack's stomach twisted, the implication of the statement hung heavy in the air. "She's just a kid," he replied tersely, defensive instinct kicking in. "I can see that." The stranger's smirk widened as he leaned back, sizing Jack up. "But kids often reflect the world around them. They can also reveal things about the adults they choose to be with." Jack's pulse quickened, his earlier resolve facing a litmus test. Who was this man to threaten not only their moment, but his burgeoning sense of self? "And what are you implying?" The stranger shrugged with practiced nonchalance. "Just that your wounds have a way of showing themselves. She can probably sense your insecurities." His tone dripped with condescension, slicing through Jack's moment of clarity. For a heartbeat, Jack stood frozen in the swirling chaos of his emotions. This encounter was not just a confrontation, it was a mirror reflecting back the very fears he had been grappling with. The voice in his head echoed relentlessly: was he truly worthy of stepping into a role that required authenticity and emotional honesty? "I'll have you know," Jack said, fighting against the weight of the man's words, "that I'm here to encourage her." The stranger raised an eyebrow, unperturbed. Encouragement means nothing if your actions betray your words. Kids can see right through the facade. Every word was a jab, mercilessly picking at Jack's insecurities, laying bare the nagging questions that had plagued him since taking on this fatherly role. Did he actually think that he could navigate this emotional landscape without fully confronting his own fears? Slowly, realization dawned. The man before him was simply feeding off Jack's uncertainties, probing deeper into the very wounds he was trying to heal. Jack's mind raced. Was he willing to let a stranger dictate his emotional landscape? He took a breath, grounding himself in the moment with Lily. She was here, her art and the connection they shared representing something genuine and pure. If he allowed this man's torment to dictate his relationship with her, he would be betraying not only her trust but his own growth. "You're mistaken if you think I'm going to back down because of your words," Jack asserted, voice gaining strength. "I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." The tension shifted palpably, Jack's resolve crystallizing as he faced the stranger. No longer could he afford to retreat into himself. He could determine the path of their interaction, not merely react to it. With newfound determination, he turned back to Lily, who was now watching the exchange with wide, confused eyes. "What do you say we go for a walk? I'd love to hear more about what inspires your art." The flicker of uncertainty in Lily's face was replaced by an undercurrent of relief, and Jack felt a surge of warmth. In that moment, he chose vulnerability over the hollow pursuit of control. "Okay," Lily replied, her voice tinged with tenacity. As they began to step away from the stranger, Jack had one last piece to offer. "And you, perhaps, should let go of your judgments. They will only pull you under." With that, the distance between them widened, and to Jack's surprise, he felt lighter, reclaiming a sense of agency over his emotional landscape. He knew the journey ahead would be challenging in its own right, brimming with confrontation and self-discovery, but he also felt invigorated by the possibility of growth. As they ventured onwards, brushing aside the shadows that attempted to cling to them, Jack acknowledged the internal struggle wouldn't end with a single confrontation. Yet, he found comfort in that struggle. The dialogue within him had shifted. Would he continue to confront the vulnerabilities that gave rise to moments of connection, or would he let fear dictate the fabric of his life? For now, he chose to embrace the messiness of creativity and emotion. Amidst disappointment and the tension that still lingered, he recognized a profound truth: growth thrived in uncertainty, and with each choice he made, he could redefine his path. But as they wandered away, a flicker in his pocket, a neglected business card, reminded him of the world that would always demand something from him, a world familiar yet full of thorns. The pull to the past was insistent. Would he be able to forge ahead into a future that felt both exhilarating and terrifying? Jack could hardly focus on the path ahead as he walked alongside Lily. The uncertainty from his encounter with the stranger still clung to him, a shadow threatening to eclipse the newfound clarity he'd almost captured. He glanced down at Lily, whose expression was one of seemingly unfiltered enthusiasm. She clutched her sketchbook, fingers brushing over the pages, her mind darting between colors, shapes, and visions only a child's imagination could conjure. "Tell me about your art," Jack prompted, trying to distract himself from the nagging doubt in his mind. "What inspires you?" Lily's face lit up, her previous confusion dissipating. "Everything. Sometimes it's just a feeling, like when I hear music, or when I see how sunlight dances on the water. Other times, it's just the people around me." Her voice bubbled with excitement as she spoke. "Like you. I can feel how much you care." Jack fought against the warmth her words ignited within him. It felt undeserved, yet uplifting. Was this what the stranger had meant about kids reflecting the world around them? He realized Lily was mirroring back his own vulnerability, his willingness to be present with her. "Why are you looking at me like that?" she asked, tilting her head, her innocence disarming. Caught in his own contemplations, Jack searched for words but instead found himself grappling with the weight of responsibility. How could he reinforce her openness while still battling his own insecurities? Suddenly, he was aware that his embrace of the role she needed was not just for her sake, it was for his growth too. "Lily, can I ask you something?" He ventured cautiously. Sure. Do you think art is about being perfect? It's about feeling. If it makes you feel something, then it's good art. Jack almost laughed at the simplicity and depth of her philosophy. Could he learn from this child? The burden he carried felt lighter with every word she spoke. As they approached a small park, her excitement grew. An empty bench beneath the sprawling limbs of a tree seemed inviting, and Jack led her there. They settled in, and Lily began flipping through her sketches, each one a glimpse into her vibrant imagination. Jack marveled at her uninhibited creativity, but a question loomed in the back of his head. Was his internal struggle stifling her potential? He turned to her, conviction brewing within him. Lily, do you ever feel afraid? Like maybe you want to be good enough or that people want to like what you've made? Lily paused, her brows furrowing as she considered. Sometimes. But I don't care what people think. I just do it for me. Other people are just bonus smiles. She looked at him sincerely, her eyes searching for understanding. A tangle of emotions surged within Jack. Here was this girl, so confidently embodying the very essence of artistic freedom and joy. Yet, he was still tethered to the fear of judgment, of failure, of inadequacy. He realized that this child was offering him something profound, perhaps the very truth he had been wrestling with. It sounds like you have a gift, Lily. You see the world in a way that many adults forget how to. I wish I could be that bold, Jack admitted, vulnerability creeping back into his voice. She giggled, tilting her head again. But you already are. You stood up to that mean guy earlier. That was super brave. Her words landed like a weighty bomb on Jack's wounds. What he perceived as mere defense had resonated deeply. He had confronted his insecurities, if only for a moment, and in doing so, he had also shown Lily the power of standing firm. Jack felt the warmth of his determination swell as he met Lily's trusting gaze. You're right. I do want to be brave, and I want to show up for myself just like I want to for you. But as they sat together, a nagging thought began to surface again. Could he truly support Lily and confront his past simultaneously? The business card in his pocket felt more like a ghost than a mere reminder, whispering unsought urgencies from a former life. The complexity of his predicament loomed ahead, a crossroads of his identity, his present battling against the echoes of what he'd left behind. What about you? Do you want to keep making art? He asked, the flicker of doubt resting beneath the surface. Forever. She declared, her innocence shining like rays of sunlight filtering through the leaves above. Jack smiled, but within him, a storm brewed. Could he channel this burgeoning connection into his own growth? Could Lily's boundless creativity inspire him to reckon with the fragments of his own shattered confidence? Before he could answer his unyielding questions, the phone buzzing in his pocket jolted him. Taking it out, he stared at the screen, and a familiar name sent a shudder down his spine. The person from his past, someone who held the power to rearrange his entire world again. Would he dare to answer? Jack's heart raced as he stared at the screen, the name a haunting reminder of choices he thought he had left behind. The stranger from his past represented a life intertwined with regret and shadows he had fought to escape. He felt the weight of the phone in his hand, like a tether to a world he no longer wanted to acknowledge. Who is it? Lily asked, her curiosity piqued that he hesitated, torn between the urge to answer and the desire to protect the fragile moment they shared. Just someone from work, he replied, masking the tension in his voice. Are you going to answer? A slight glimmer of worry crossed her face, and Jack felt an uncharacteristic urge to shield her from his turmoil. I don't know, he stammered, the phone vibrating against his palm like an unresolved question. Maybe it's important. She suggested, tilting her head in thought. Jack felt a pang of guilt. Here was this child, eager for his attention, and he was considering allowing another shadow to sneak back into his life. But the truth loomed larger than the moment. Jack remembered his role, not just as Lily's mentor but as someone who could demonstrate resilience, a concept he was desperately trying to internalize. You're right, he said slowly, his voice steadying. I must confront my past to move forward. As he stared at her with newfound resolve, Jack made a decision. Unplugging from the past meant not being shackled by it. He hit the button to answer, the ringing tone echoing through the quiet park. Before he could second-guess himself, he was thrust into a conversation that could flip his world upside down. "Jack. I've been trying to reach you." The voice on the line was crisp, authoritative, and laced with expectations. It was Marcus, his former business partner, a man who had once represented both opportunity and chaos in Jack's life. "We need to talk. I have exciting news." Jack's breath quickened. The opportunity was familiar, enticing, like a siren beckoning him back to turbulent waters. But he had to ask himself what was the cost. Exciting how? Jack's voice was a notch deeper, rife with guarded skepticism. He stole a glance at Lily, who was now engrossed in her sketches, her little eyebrow furrowed in concentration. Would she be better off without the complications of his past? "We're back in business, Jack. Investors are excited," Marcus' voice continued, oblivious to Jack's internal conflict. "And we could use your expertise. This is your chance, man." Was this the phoenix he needed to resurrect his ambitions? Or a diversion that could shatter the connection he was beginning to forge with Lily? He felt a crack forming in the wall of clarity he had carefully constructed since their encounter that morning. Jack took a moment to inhale, centering himself as he clutched the phone. "I need time to think," he finally said, feeling the force of his own decision. Could he walk this delicate balance of rediscovering his professional self while fostering Lily's creative blossoming? "Think. Jack, you can't let this slip away." "I won't be pressured," Jack asserted, the words surprising him with their strength. The conversation ended abruptly, leaving the air thick with uncertainty. Jack dropped his phone in his lap, bewildered by the weight of the choice he had just made. Israel's face portrayed a wisdom beyond her years, and he felt vulnerable again, a reminder that stepping into his truth would not be a solo journey. "Did you take the call?" Lily asked, glancing up with concern. "I did. But I'm not ready for that world yet," he replied, surprised by the clarity of his own statement. "Good. You don't have to rush if you don't want to," she encouraged. "You want to be happy, right?" "Yeah, I do," he whispered, the truth blooming within him like her sketches on the page. In that moment, he understood that happiness wasn't built on competing with a past but by crafting something new. He realized that the commitment he made to Lily could guide him forward. "Can we keep working on your art?" he asked, urgency nudging him toward realization. "Yes, forever." She beamed, her enthusiasm causing the tension to dissipate. In that connection, Jack felt a pivotal shift within himself, but the shadow of his past still loomed like an unfinished portrait waiting for the right colors. As they resumed their artistic explorations, Jack couldn't shake the certainty that a battle was brewing. A confrontation with his former self was inevitable. Whatever awaited him was cloaked in uncertainty, but he felt emboldened. Yet, with each stroke of creativity shared, he realized that courage pulsed through every vibrant shade. The real question remained, could he sustain this newfound bravery in the face of the inevitable confrontation that awaited him? Little did he know that the moment would soon arrive, and he had to prepare to truly redefine who he was. Wind evening swept through the park, rustling the leaves and creating a soft melody that contrasted with Jack's turbulent thoughts. He sat beside Lily, the fragments of his past still fresh in his mind as they painted together. Each stroke on the canvas was a tangible manifestation of Jack's internal struggle, a blend of colors reflective of both the light he aimed for and the shadows trying to encroach. "Look, I made a butterfly." Lily's proud exclamation snapped him back to the present. The vivid blue hues against the white canvas captured her unrestrained imagination, and he felt a fleeting warmth radiate from her untainted joy. "That's beautiful, Lily. You captured its spirit," he said, smiling genuinely as he offered her encouragement. But a part of him remained restless, battling the allure of opportunity that Marcus had spoken of. Could he transform that swirling chaos within into something constructive, something that would honor his growth while not endangering the burgeoning relationship he cherished? The thought churned in his gut like a storm. As they worked, Jack became more aware of the urgency that surrounded him. His past held a paradox familiar yet suffocating. What if accepting Marcus's offer meant abandoning the deeper connection he was forming with Lily? The stakes felt impossibly high. Jack. Lily's voice broke through his reverie, pulling him back. She had such a perceptive essence for someone so young. Are you thinking about that man on the phone? You look worried. It struck Jack how much he needed to be present not just for Lily, but for himself. I'm wrestling with choices, Lily. Sometimes it feels like if you want to leap forward, you have to leave some things behind, including people. Like butterflies? She mused thoughtfully. They fly away when they're ready, but they always come back home to where they feel safe. Her innocence was profound, but the metaphor she shared struck a chord in him. Perhaps it wasn't about abandoning the past entirely but about transforming it into something new. He gently placed his brush down and turned to her. What if I told you I might go back to that world? The one with the man on the phone. Would you think I'm not being brave? I think it's okay to feel scared. But you should choose to be happy, like your butterfly. Lily's response, delivered with a gravitas beyond her years, gave him pause. Perhaps strength lay in revisiting what had been, as long as he kept his heart anchored in the present. In that moment, Jack recognized a clarity bubbling within him. He had built walls to protect himself from past disappointments, but guarding his heart should not mean denying his aspirations. Perhaps it was possible to seek a balance between his ambitions and the emotional safety he wished to create for Lily. As they resumed painting, Jack felt a sense of determination take root. He would confront Marcus, but with a renewed understanding of his priorities. If he were to dive back into the world of business, it would be on his terms, intertwined with a commitment to Lily's growth unwavering in focus. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across their canvas, Jack resolved to reach out to Marcus again. But this time, he would do so equipped with clarity, determined to mold his professional endeavors alongside the lessons he had learned through mentoring Lily. As they cleaned up their supplies, the glow of the afternoon faded, yet within him, the embers of courage ignited. The impending conversation loomed like a dark cloud on the horizon, reminding him that the past could not be ignored. Each step he took closer felt laden with the weight of his decisions, yet they also bore the promise of transformation. Would he succeed in blending his past with his present, or would he fall prey to the chaos he dreaded? Jack knew he had to decide soon. Balance was essential, but so was confronting the reality of his past. The time had come to enter the fray once more. But could he emerge unscathed, and more importantly, would his journey for self-redefinition lead to the life he envisioned, or would it unravel everything he had built with Lily? Only the next call would reveal the truth. Jack stood before the sprawling skyline of Fort Worth, the sunlight filtering through the clouds, casting a warm glow that felt like a promise. His heart thrummed with newfound resolve as he reflected on the transformation that had unfolded within him. Just a few weeks prior, he had been a businessman entangled in his success, oblivious to the emotional void he and Emma shared. But everything changed since that encounter with Lily's mother. Her challenge ignited a commitment deep within him to not only connect with his daughter but to reach out to others who needed support. Emma was sat in the park, poring over her sketches, each line a testament to her creative spirit. Jack chuckled as he watched her concentrate, that spark of joy illuminating her face. It was a far cry from the little girl who merely waited for him to finish his phone calls. He decommitted to being present, to nurturing that joy, and in doing so, he discovered the immense satisfaction of fatherhood, of being truly seen by his daughter and, more importantly, seeing her. "Daddy, look at this one!" Emma exclaimed, her hands outstretched with a vibrant drawing depicting a fantastical creature, a blend of her imagination and innocence. In that moment, Jack saw not just a child's drawing, but a manifestation of growth. He felt a swell of pride. She was learning to express herself freely and fearlessly, just as he had aspired to. "Wow, Emma, that's incredible. You have such a gift," he praised, knowing that his encouragement wasn't just for her benefit, it was a reminder to himself that he too had gifts to share. This was part of the stability he wanted to instill in her, the understanding that being vulnerable could lead to empowerment. With that, he made a decision. He would confront Marcus one last time, but fully aware that this was not merely about business opportunities or profits. It was about making choices that aligned with the father he was becoming. Jack pulled out his phone, his heartbeat quickening but fueled with conviction. He dialed the number, each ring building anticipation rather than dread. "Jack. I'm really glad you called back," Marcus answered, his tone brimming with enthusiasm, as if unaware of the internal reckoning Jack was experiencing. "Listen, I've thought about our conversation. I want in, but on my terms. I'll bring my expertise but alongside my vision that also embraces those who need support in real ways." Jack's voice resonated clarity. He was no longer just a businessman but someone who valued emotional engagement over solely transactional interactions. After this unexpected turn, he felt liberated. With each word, he shed layers of self-doubt and fear, realizing he no longer had to choose between success and connection. He could accomplish both by redefining success to encompass compassion and empathy. Lily was right. Like butterflies, he could enter new spaces while still finding a way back to what he held dear. Jack concluded the call with a sense of accomplishment and relief. He stepped onto paths he once feared, acknowledging the necessity of embracing vulnerability not just for him, but for Emma, for Lily, and for those whose lives he wished to touch. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of commitment. Jack organized art therapy workshops at local shelters, providing space for creativity to flourish among children whose voices often went unheard. He watched in awe as Emma, alongside Lily, blossomed in this new venture, encouraging their peers to embrace creativity as a tool for healing. The laughter and joy that filled their community brought clarity to Jack's sense of purpose. As he witnessed the positive impact on the children, his own connection to Emma deepened. She was no longer just his daughter, but his collaborator and partner in transformation. They shared moments that transcended traditional father-daughter relationships, weaving experiences enriched with love and vulnerability. Jack's past no longer shimmered like an ominous ghost. Instead, it served as a tapestry of lessons learned and wisdom gained. He had conquered that internal battle, proving he could navigate the landscape of business while nurturing genuine human connections. One sunny Saturday, Jack sat on a park bench next to Emma and Lily after finishing a workshop. They watched the children draw, feeling proud of the space they had created together. "Look at all that art," Jack said, smiling at the sight. "Each one of those kids is a little butterfly." Emma nodded, her eyes luminous with belief. "And we helped them fly." "We certainly did," he replied, cradling Emma's shoulder proudly. Jack savored the moment not solely for the success of the initiative but for the endless possibilities that lay ahead. He had achieved a profound understanding of giving and receiving love, the joy of presence, and the beauty of shared experiences. The emptiness that previously haunted him had been replaced with a solid confidence and a recognized competence as a father. This was no longer about success defined by wealth, it was about connection, growth, and shared art, the pieces that made life truly rich. In this journey, Jack had found himself, his courage reaffirmed, his identity transformed, and the warm, radiant love between him and Emma flourishing. Now, it's your turn to make a meaningful choice. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that will touch your heart and inspire your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help more individuals discover the transformative power of personal growth. Comment your reactions and theories about Jack's incredible journey towards becoming a better father and human being. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting conclusion, that they too may realize their potential for change. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this story with those who need to believe in transformation.